All right, everyone, let's talk about a company that's currently making a lot of noise in a space where, frankly, things are usually pretty quiet and clinical. I'm talking about Tempus AI, ticker symbol TEM now. If you've been following my channel, you know I love a good X of Y comparison. We've seen the Uber of everything, the Netflix of this, and most of them usually end up being the Theranos of, well, nowhere. But today, we're looking at something different. We're looking at what I call the Amazon of TechBio. And before you roll your eyes and say, wait, isn't Amazon already in healthcare? SHHH, just listen. We aren't talking about selling band-aids or shipping pills. We're talking about building the operating system for precision medicine. We're talking about a company backed by NVIDIA, funded by Google, and currently being hoarded by Cathie Wood. Is it a lab? Is it an AI company? Is it a data pimp? The answer is yes. Let's dive into why Tempus AI might just be the most important stock in your portfolio that you've never actually looked at. First, we need a villain. In our story, the villain is the US healthcare system. And no, I don't mean the bill you got for that one ER visit. I mean the data silos. Imagine you're a doctor. You've got a patient with stage 4 cancer. You have their DNA sequence in one folder, their imaging in another, their pathology report in a PDF that looks like it was scanned in 1994, and their clinical history in a completely different software. None of these systems talk to each other. It's like trying to build a Lego set where the instructions are in Swedish, the pieces are in a locked box, and the box is at the bottom of the ocean. Right now, drug R&D takes about 10 to 15 years and costs roughly $2.6 billion per drug. Why? Because we are essentially throwing darts in a dark room. We are testing drugs on thousands of people hoping they work, rather than knowing exactly who they will work for. This gap between raw data and actual insights is what Tempus was born to bridge. So why the Amazon comparison? Because Eric Lefkofsky, the founder of Tempus, understands the flywheel effect. Jeff Bezos didn't want to be a bookseller. He used books as a Trojan horse to build the world's largest logistics and data network. Tempus is doing the exact same thing with cancer testing. Here, S how the flywheel spins. Phase 1. They sell genomic tests to hospitals. They often do this at a lower margin than competitors like Foundation Medicine. Why? To get the data. Phase 2. Every test they run adds to their multimodal database. We aren't just talking about DNA. We're talking about DNA plus RNA plus the doctor's notes plus how the patient actually responded to the drug. Phase 3. They take that massive pile of data and feed it into their AI models. The result? The AI gets smarter, which makes the tests more valuable, which attracts more doctors, which gives them more data. In tech terms, they used a hardware product to build a software platform. That, my friends, is how you build a moat. Let's look under the hood. Tempus has two engines. On the left, you have the lab side. They do next-gen sequencing. They've got these massive, beautiful labs that can sequence 648 genes at once. It's impressive, but honestly, anyone with a big enough checkbook can buy an Illumina sequencer. The real magic is on the right side, the intelligence side. Meet Tempus One. It's basically Siri for doctors, but way more useful because it won't accidentally play Despacito when you're asking about a BRCA2 mutation. A doctor can literally ask their phone, "Hey Tempus, did my patient's tumor shrink after the last round of immunotherapy?" And it will pull the clinical data, the imaging, and the genetic markers in seconds. And then there's Tempus Lens. This is the Bloomberg terminal for pharma. If you're a scientist at a big drug company, you don't want to run a 10-year trial to find out if your drug works. You want to log into Lens, query 8 million patient records, and find the 500 people who have the exact genetic profile you're targeting. Tempus charges a premium for that access, and trust me, pharma is happy to pay. Now you might be thinking, okay, this sounds like a cool startup, but can they actually scale? Well, ask NVIDIA and Google. NVIDIA isn't just a supplier here, they're an investor. Why? Because training healthcare large language models is incredibly compute-intensive. Tempus is one of the biggest power users of NVIDIA's H200 and Blackwell chips in the medical world. Jensen Huang doesn't just put anyone on his keynote slides. He puts Tempus there because they are the poster child for AI-driven biology. And then there's Google. Google gave them the cloud infrastructure to store over 200 petabytes of data. Think about that. That's more data than the entire Library of Congress, many times over. When the titans of Silicon Valley are handing you the keys to the kingdom, you're not just a biotech company. You're a computational engineering powerhouse. Here is the slide that should make every investor sit up a little straighter. As of 2026, Tempus has partnered with 19 of the top 20 global pharma companies. That's a 95% market penetration. What are they doing for them? Two words: external controls. Normally, if Merck wants to test a new drug, they need a control group, a bunch of sick people who get a placebo instead of the drug. It's expensive and slow. Tempus says, don't bother. We have the data of 10,000 people who already took the old drug and have the exact same genetic profile. Use our virtual control arm instead. This can shave 2 years off an FDA approval process. If you're a drug company with a patent clock ticking, 2 years is worth billions. This is why Gilead and Merck just signed massive multi-year extensions with Tempus in Q1 of this year. They aren't buying data, they're buying time. All right, let's look at the numbers because you can't pay the rent with flywheels. In the latest Q1 2026 report, Tempus knocked it out of the park. Total revenue hit $348 million, up 36% year over year. But here's what you need to pay attention to: the mix. Diagnostics, the lab business, grew at 35%. Solid. Data and applications, the AI and insights side, grew at 40.5%. Why does that matter? Because the lab business is heavy. You have to buy chemicals, pay lab techs, and ship boxes. It has lower margins. But the data business, that's pure software. Once you have the data, selling a license to a 20th pharma company costs you almost zero. Tempus just raised their full-year 2026 guidance to $1.6 billion and, drumroll please, they expect to be adjusted EBITDA positive to the tune of $65 million. They are finally moving from the burn cash to grow phase into the printing money from data phase. But wait, don't go mortgage your house to buy TEM just yet. We have to talk about the risks. First, regulatory hurdles. Medical data is a sensitive topic. If the government passes a new law tomorrow saying you can't monetize de-identified patient data, the business model takes a massive hit. Second, the Amazon problem. Amazon is successful because they do everything. Tempus is trying to do everything: oncology, cardiology, neurology, neuropsychiatry. If they spread themselves too thin, they might become a jack of all trades, master of none. Third, customer concentration. Even though they have 19 of the top 20 pharma companies, a few big contracts make up a lot of their insights revenue. If a giant like Pfizer cancels their subscription, ouch. So what's the final verdict? If you view Tempus AI as a testing company, it's overpriced. If you view it as a healthcare data infrastructure company, it might be the deal of the decade. In the 1849 gold rush, the people who got rich weren't the miners, they were the people selling the picks and shovels. In the AI gold rush, everyone is looking for the next big drug. Tempus. They own the refinery, they own the pipeline, and most importantly, they own the map. They are the AWS of healthcare. They are building a world where no patient has to be treated based on averages, but rather on the data of everyone who came before them. And if they pull it off, they'll be the reason we finally beat cancer. And finally, the boring stuff. Disclosure: just so we're clear, I may hold positions in Tempus AI at the time of this recording. Disclaimer: look, I'm an AI-assisted creator, not your financial advisor. I don't know your risk tolerance or your bank balance. Do your own due diligence. Biotech is volatile. AI is hyped. Don't invest money you can't afford to lose while chasing the next big thing. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button, subscribe for more TechBio analysis, and let me know in the comments. Do you think Tempus is the real deal?